everybody, and welcome to MangaPod. We are a weekly podcast in which we all get together after we've read all or part of a manga, and then we discuss it with friendship, love, and lots of spoilers. This week we are talking Robot X Laserbeam, which is not spoiled, but from the creator of my favorite manga of all time, Kuroko no Basket. It is by the same mangaka, Fujimaki Tododachi. I actually know his name. I don't know why I stumbled like that, but it's fine. It's whatever.
You want to give it another try to get it out?
Fujimaki Todotoshi, I believe is
perfect.
Much better.
Immaculate pronunciation.
Thank you. I am Erin, a happily Erin, your host, and with me and one of my lovely co-hosts, as well as a very special guest. So we'll have everybody go around and introduce themselves, please.
Hi, everybody. My name's Lou, and I like manga, and I like the sports, and I like the sports manga.
Perfect. I mean, can I just say ditto to that? My name's Brad or Pluto, and I also enjoy sports and manga and sports manga. Specifically, Kuroko no Basket is one of the best. Also, Prince of Tennis is near and dear to my heart. I remember binge watching that like in middle school, like one summer in middle school, and I was just like, I love this. I didn't know I needed it until that moment, and I've craved it ever since.
Did you know one of the times Brooke and I really knew that we were besties was when we started saying Mata Mata Dane to each other.
Oh, so good.
We would just start saying Mata Mata Dane, and no one else knew what we were talking about. But then we were like, we're meant to be.
I respect it. I love that. Ryoma Echizen, one of the greatest protagonists of any medium ever.
Oh my gosh, he's so great. So good. If you've never joined us for a manga pod before, what we like to do is give you a short spoiler-free description of the manga that we read, aka a summary, and then we will give you our spoiler-free recommendations, whether we think you should spend time going to read this manga or not. That way, if it sounds like something you're interested in, you can take your leave once we get to spoiler section, go read it, come back and watch the VOD of this later. Oh, just smacked my child in the head. It's fine.
Oh, man.
So we're going to go ahead and have our lovely description read by our awesome guest, Pluto, if you do not mind.
Of course, yeah, the synopsis, right? That's what we're reading?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Protagonist Roboto is a super serious, deadpan neat freak who is also the least flexible and can never read a situation right. His unfeeling and expressionless face gave him the nickname Robo. One day, this Robo meets golf and... exclamation question mark is just how that ends. ... It's a weird ellipses, honestly, in a description of a manga.
They took liberties with the punctuation.
They also took liberties, like, with the adjectives.
That too.
Flexible?
Yeah. Super serious, deadpan neat freak who is also the least flexible. Like, physically flexible or situationally?
I guess it's saying, like, personality. He's, like, very strict.
Rigid, yeah.
But it's just, it comes off weird after reading a sports manga sometimes.
These synopsis aren't like, is this like, the source of this is Shonen Jump. This must be a weird translation, right? Like, least flexible.
Yeah. I would think so.
Probably actually means like he's a rigid person, but it translates.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't give anything away. It kind of, leads us in, gives a synopsis.
Honestly, it's better than like 90% of the summaries that you on my anime list.
Yeah, the ones that are like 7 paragraphs long, and we're like, here you go, guest. Take it away. Sweet, thank you. Let's go around and do our spoiler-free recommendations. Anybody want to go first?
I'll go first. So, I didn't mind it. I like the beginning half was okay, and then it gradually started to pick up steam. But I don't know if I would recommend it. There are way better sports manga if that's the fix that you're going for. That I would recommend before this. Brad mentioned Kuroko. Obviously, Kuroko is amazing. Hajime no Ippo or The Climber or Real. We've read a lot of sports manga for MangaPod.
Yeah.
And I would recommend a lot of them before I recommend this. And that's not to say that it's bad. It's just the genre has a lot of gems. And I just recommend any of those over, Robot X Laserbeam. So that's basically it. It looks all right.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. I mean, it's the same guy, of course, the Kuroko, who obviously is near and dear to both Aaron and my heart. Apparently, I have my Aomine statue at work, my Aomine figure. I love it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I have. Hang on. 1, 2.
You gotta count the boys. Count your basketball
I've
boy.
got, 4 boys over there. 5 if you
There you
count
go.
my little Kisei pin.
Okay, that's fair. Wait, is it the Generation of Miracles, or do you have different people?
Oh no, it's Kuroko and Kagami, and then I have a Kisei, huge Kisei pin that's like this big, and it's just him looking all cute.
Nice.
I need to get the rest of them.
So from an art standpoint, obviously it's good. From kind of a story standpoint, like the thing that I love so much about sports anime is they're able to take the mundane of sports sometimes. Like tennis is something I never would have thought an anime or manga would work for, and they blow you away. And like I love Prince of Tennis so much because, and Kuroko is like, they take these like standard sports tropes and turn them into something like so anime. Like the zone in Kuroko is one of my favorite things ever, right? It's like Super Saiyan. And I never particularly felt the same way about what Robot X Laserbeam does with golf. I didn't feel like it took it to a level that made it incredibly entertaining. I watch golf. I've played golf, stuff like that, and I was never hooked into the manga like I was with other sports manga and anime. So from that perspective, I don't think I can particularly recommend it, I suppose.
Yeah, if you haven't read if you're all out of sports manga to read, go ahead, like read this one. It is like decent for what it is, but it's not going to give you the same, like you guys have said to echo it, the same entertainment, like you're engulfed in the action, you can't stop watching, like that same feeling. And I don't know if it's because it's golf or what, but it just wasn't, that touch wasn't there. Like what made Kuroko great wasn't in here. Will say I really enjoyed the characters. Like Fujimaki is really great at creating characters that I think come to life. Rion is my babe. I love him so much. But yeah, I think if you're gonna go and search out a sports manga, even by the same mangaka, I would go and read Kuroko. Like there's a lot of other ones that you could read. But it does go like kind of fast, and it's sadly it is canceled. And so which I say sadly just because I want Fujimaki to do amazing things and be super popular and all of that. So it's like
you have more investment in the artist.
I'm invested in the creator.
You just want him to have work, please.
Go proud, be proud, baby. You got this. And so it's only 67 chapters. So it definitely, like Lewis said, it picks up near where we stopped, and we stopped at chapter 34. We read 1 through 34, and it kind of picked up right around when we were like ending. But yeah, it's okay. It's not amazing. It's not bad. The art is great. All of that. But yeah, I'm like, go read it because Fujimaki. But if you have other stuff to read, go read that first. I guess that would be
I have I have an idea for why it didn't work, but that kind of treads into the spoiler section. So once we get there, like, yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Hold on. Wait 1 second. Sorry, something's doing. Okay. All right, you guys ready to jump into spoiler section then?
Ready.
All
yeah.
Right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Robo is God.
Robo dies. Robo dies. That's why it's different than any sports manga you've ever read. Actually,
right at chapter 34, Robo dies. A new character takes his
character appears.
Yes, it's exactly. Or actually, no, it's really that Robo was indeed a robot from the very beginning.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh, and we go all sci-fi.
Yes, that's exactly what happens.
All right, what were your guys? Let's start with the question that we usually start with. What were your guys' expectations before going in to reading this manga, Pluto? If you can remember back to like the first time you read it, or what you felt rereading it, or whatever. So, yeah, Lou, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, Robot X Laserbeam had this reputation as not being the most exciting manga. I've heard about this manga since like before it was starting to be published, and there was a lot of high hopes for it. And just over time, the people that would read it kept on commenting about how boring it was. So I went into this a little hesitant because all I've heard is negativity around this, but it's kind of hard to imagine that the creator of Kuroko would deliver anything less than stellar work. So I was very nervous going into this, and honestly, I'll say that my expectations were, I don't want to say met, because I think I enjoy it more than a lot of the people who were initially reacting to it. I think that I enjoyed the benefit of reading it all at once, which may have resolved some of the pacing issues that other people that were reading it week to week may have experienced. Yeah, and that's really, like, in terms of my expectations, that's about where I'm at with them. If you guys don't mind, I wanted to just go ahead and get this idea for why it didn't work.
Yeah.
Golf is such a it's such a relaxing and quiet sport for the spectators. A lot of the tension really emerges when you have time to observe the golfer. Like I'm like Brad, I'm someone that will sit and I'll watch I'll watch golf if it's on ESPN. I'll sit and I'll watch it. And I feel like what really hurt this manga is that, like, the choice to make Robot, like the whole premise of the stoic character, ended up working against this manga. I feel like if we would have had a fiery protagonist, we would have gotten something else or something more substantive out of it. And also, like, the obvious parallels that you can draw to Kuroko, where it just makes Robot look as a just the great value version of Kuroko, and it's really sad. Because there are, like, Robo did have some redeeming qualities, specifically the backstory that you're starting to see developed with his father, which isn't really something that you had with Kuroko. With Kuroko, everything was based on his opponents versus something that was just native to him. So that's basically, that's, like, that was my concern. Like, I feel like if this manga would have taken an approach that was not bouncing between, all the different rounds, just focused on the main character and his experience with the sport, and maybe had a different build for the character where he was more of the traditional shonen protagonist, where it's like, oh, this is an extremely fiery person, but the second they're on the golf course, they become cold as ice. Like, I think that would have been really interesting.
Yeah, that's what I, not to, like, jump around, but just so I'm staying on that idea, while I was reading it, because of the comparison to Kuroko, because of how Robo looks and acts, I was like, the whole time I was like, this isn't Kuroko. I want to read Kuroko. That's what I just kept thinking, because it's like he wasn't as well developed of a character as Kuroko, and so he would do things, and I'd be like, that's not how Kuroko would do it. And then I'd be like, wait, no, it's not Kuroko. And so I agree. I think it would have been better to go with a protagonist that was a little bit more varied from one for another one with the sport that we were seeing. I totally agree with that. So. Yeah,
to echo the comparison to Kuroko, obviously this is gonna be the entire podcast. To Lou's point of, like, Robo's not like a fiery character, he's not super exciting. That could be interesting, either someone exciting in the world of golf that is already kind of seen as like a boring thing, or an exciting character that, tempers his excitement to become a god at golf or something. But when you look at it through the lens of Kuroko, Robo has a lot of similarities to Kuroko. He's the calm, stoic, quiet type. And the thing that I think turns me off to Robot X Laserbeam is golf as a sport is, a 1-versus-1 challenge, effectively, like every hole. And the beauty about Kuroko is the whole dynamic and the whole bro storyline of the shadow and the light. You know, it's Kuroko is a shadow and Kagami is this loud, boisterous, high ass jumping light, right? And it's amazing. But in Robot, you only get the shadow, and there's no foil, there is no light for him to help shine as bright as possible, right? Like it's as if Kuroko was playing a 1v1 basketball game, and like that was the whole manga, right? Yeah. It's like his entire purpose is to make the people around him better. And in a sport like golf, there is no one really around you to be able to make better. So I think the story and the trope in that respect suffers from the sport that was chosen, you know, for this. Like you choose a myriad number of team sports. If this was soccer, if this was football, if this was something else, I think that trope works, and that's why it works in Kuroko. But in a sport like golf, I just don't think it fits like a story at all.
Yeah, and I'm interested because, and this is something I think I recently was talking to you, Lou, about. So Fujimaki, when he was very early on, Kuroko was first getting popular, he did an interview and somebody asked him what manga he would eventually like to do. Otherwise, like, would he want to keep doing Kuroko, like basketball? Would he want to do what else? And he said golf. He was like, I want to make a golf manga. And people were like, ah, ha, ha. But apparently it was serious. And so he like went into it. And I'm curious if this is like the golf manga he wanted to make, or if he was pressured to make something like Kuroko, because Kuroko was so wildly popular. And so he was like pressured into making a protagonist that was so similar to Kuroko. But like, you can't, like you were saying, it's much harder to tell a story about that kind of protagonist within this, because they were trying to, he was introducing the whole team, like he has the senpais and he has this other team member and like Kazuma, who's the like blonde angry dude, like he was introducing all of them. But like golf is such a one-on-one, like you said, that it's hard to get super invested in like all of this other stuff as like a team. It just didn't really connect for them to be a team sport.
I don't we talked about this kind of before, but I don't remember like, and again, I don't think I mentioned it, but I was reading this week to week when it was first being published. So it's been a while since I've read it. But like, I don't remember a single other character's name, you know? And I think that's because all the matches, like when he's actually playing the holes, like the interplay in high school and when they're training and, you know, like that's fun. But when it comes to the matches and in the stroke play and them playing the holes and stuff, all the characters are relegated to just like reaction shots, right? Yes. They're all like, oh my God, he hit the laser beam again. Whoa. And that's it, right? There's no real dynamic between them engaging and interacting with his actual play, which is the best part about Kuroko, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Like, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Like, I think we would have gotten more out of post time skip Robot.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, because it would take the team dynamic out of it because he's a professional, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we can focus more on his character. So maybe, I don't know. I would like to read until it ends.
Yeah.
You know, to fast forward a bit, but just because I'm curious how the whole dynamic is going to change since he's out of the team setting.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I'm wondering, if this was like the manga he wanted to make, because it seems like he might have just set up the rivalry with Yo, who like we see in the first few chapters, and then he's gone. Like he's just gone, which makes their rivalry feel a little bit like, wait, okay, is it feels very like you lose focus of that because he's so like doing all this other stuff and learning how to love golf. Like I feel like if it'd been like a few chapters of him meeting Yo, and that's what lights the fire of playing golf, and then fast forward to going pro and we like learn the characters in the pro, like if you just skip over that high school stuff, like I honestly kind of would have been okay with a lot of that, because like you said, the pro stuff is like where the characters are starting to able to be shining, and like we can see the reaction, like them interacting that way too.
And Yo is like, correct me if I'm wrong, he's like already a pro when they introduce him, or he's like a high schooler becoming pro? Where is he in his career?
He's a high schooler becoming pro,
Mm-hmm.
basic, like getting ready. Like he has the one tournament, and if he wins that tournament, he's gonna go pro.
Yeah, so I feel like they put the goal for Robo so far away that like you can't accomplish it without a time skip, and that takes kind of the wind out of the sails. Like, you know, again, this whole podcast I think is to be talking about Kuroko basically, which I'm totally down for. But like every big thing, every big goal that they had, the Winter Cup, stuff like that was so close, right? It's always around the corner. It's always like, yeah, we're in the winter tournament right now. Yeah, we got to win this. And that's the whole thing. But when you set the challenge or the goal kind of years away from where Robo's current position is, it feels like it's going to be, without a time skip, the story would just be him like going through high school and playing in high school tournaments and all this kind of stuff. But like no one would care about that because you're only concerned about when he finally, goes pro and battles you, right? Like that's kind of it. Yeah. And there's no way to make those things special because like it's golf, right? And I don't want to say that, golf sucks and is boring because like we both have said, like I enjoy golf and I've played it and stuff like that. But when I think of a far away goal in a manga, the first thing that comes to mind is One Piece, right? Like One Piece is like, that's been going on forever. And the One Piece is this mythical thing that who knows if they'll ever reach. But every individual arc of One Piece and Island is like awesome and like gorgeous. And the island is cool and the character development is cool. And I just don't think you can do that in a high school golf manga, which sucks.
I think what could have possibly made it better is if there would have been a high school tournament in which he challenges Yo and gets his ass handed to them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like just that a plot point like that to fuel the rivalry, feed into the time skip to justify all that, all that time apart so we can be reintroduced to the characters after they've grown some. I think something like that would have done a lot. And it would have led to at least a small payoff, which I don't think we've received any significant payoffs, apart from the fact that Robo has admitted that he loves golf and that he's playing golf because he thinks it's fun and it's a thing that he's great at and he wants to be the best at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need a marker for the character progression at some point in the story, right? Like if he were to get destroyed by you, he would have realized like, wow, I have so much further to go. And then that journey becomes more meaningful and exciting, right? It's the exact same thing, like I said, with One Piece. Whenever Luffy gets his ass handed to him because he doesn't know about these, super pirates or this new world or whatever, it's like, oh, wow, he still has so much further to go. He has to grow. He has to develop his skills and stuff like that. With Robo, he's just like, he always hits the laser beam, and it's like, what more is there to golf?
It was really hard, like, for his character development, too, to be so, like, OP and all the time, like, hitting these things so consistently so early on. Because it's like, what investment in his struggle do we, like, really have? Because he doesn't really have one that much at all. So it's like... it's hard. That's something I was thinking where I was like, oh, he's going to hit the next one or he's going to hit the next one. Like there was never any doubt in my mind that he was going to win. Whereas with other sports manga, something that good sports manga do super well is you're like doubting, even though you're like the protagonists have to win because it's the protagonist story. But then you're watching the games and you're like, I don't know who I'm rooting for. I don't know who's going to win this. And so you just get so into it. And that's something that was really lacking here where it was just like, all right, I know Robo's going to win. Like, he's just going to do something. And like another Kuroko comparison was the fact that like introducing the abilities felt so like injected into this. So like the snake eye, like serpent's tail or whatever. And then the dude's color abilities, whatever, with the fireball. and the water. That felt just so injected because we didn't get much time with those players playing by themselves. It was always in connection with Robo, so it was always just like a glance at it. And so it just felt so out of place here. Like, I love those things in Kuroko. Like, when they were yelling, like, Emperor Eye and shit like that, I was like, oh! But in this, I was just like, okay, there's a thing. It made me, like, I wasn't upset, but I just, like, it felt really out of place for this manga in general.
Yeah, I think the thing that Kuroko does so well with regard to that kind of goal we were talking about, like the Winter Cup and whatever. Also, they set up the kind of antagonists that, of course, become kind of friends in the Generation of Miracles so damn well, because every time they play a team that has like one of the Generation of Miracles in it, it's like so exciting, right? You're like, what is this guy's ability? How are they going to get around it? How are they going to do it? But like, there wasn't that kind of build up and anticipation in kind of the Robot X Laserbeam matches. It was just kind of like, I don't know who any of the opponents were.
Yeah.
I don't know the schools. I don't know where they came from. And so whenever they would pull out the whatever move, I'm just like, I don't care. Like, you're just gonna get laser beamed. You know, like, that's it. Like, it's just such a one-dimensional, I think, sport that like there's nothing more to it, and it kind of sucks. I don't know what else you can do with that.
Can we talk about? Oh, sorry.
Or I was gonna say that I think we talked about like small payoffs on the way to the end goal, and that's something that Kuroko accomplishes because of how it's designed, where there are a bunch of separate players that need to be conquered on their way to achieving their goal, versus there's really no incentive for the mangaka to really build up characters outside of you know, like we have the Emperor, but the Emperor just came out of nowhere. Like, there was no build to it. So again, I think it's more like this manga suffers from a bunch of structural issues, and I don't know how far after Kuroko was published did this manga start running, because I think that if the mangaka would have taken like 6 more months to like really plan it out, it would have been substantially better. Like, it honestly felt like, you know, his editors told them, all right, Kuroko has to end now, and you have, you know, X amount of time to crank something brand new out.
Yeah. This started in 2017, and Kuroko ended... What? Kuroko ended in 14?
No way.
Are you shitting me? Have I loved Kuroko that long?
Wait, did he do this Kuroko spin-off manga before or after Robot X Laserbeam?
Oh, he did it before Robot. So he did that. It was 2014 to 2016. And then Robo came out the year after.
So he had a year.
Almost, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it only ran for a year, and I don't only get into spoilers past 34, but I didn't know. Like, when I was reading it, I was reading it week to week, and when the final chapter happened, I think you said it was like 64 or something like that. It came out of nowhere, right? Like, I didn't know it had an impending cancellation. I don't know if a lot of people did. I don't know if it was common knowledge, but I was reading it and I was like, oh, like I literally I read the chapter and I Googled it and I was like, is this series over? And it was like, yeah, this is the last. And I was like, oh, like, I had no idea. And so, we were talking before this, and I don't know if anyone has a particular answer, but I'm curious when, and I read manga, but I'm not like super into the behind the scenes stuff and know a bunch of artists and stuff like that. So, like, how long of a runway is it usually for, like, between the cancellation of a manga and like the end of the manga, right? Do they have weeks? Do they have months? Do they have how long?
It totally varies from what it's being publicized in. Shonen Jump tends to be very harsh If
Really?
something's not doing very well, Shonen Jump is very easy. Like, so many series die in Shonen Jump.
Like
very
wrap it up in
quickly.
3 chapters.
Yeah.
Really?
They're like, all right, this isn't selling as well as this or this, so we need space for the other stuff, like that kind of a thing. And so they tend to get told they have a very fast turnaround time to end it, which is why there's a lot of Shonen Jump manga that you're like, wait, that was the end? What? Like exactly what you felt. So Shonen Jump tends to be the harshest with it. And I don't know if it's because they're one of the biggest, or are they? Yeah, they're definitely one of the biggest. I don't know if they're the biggest, but yeah, they're pretty brutal.
Okay. So yeah, it sounds like it can just be like, yo, you have 2 chapters. Have fun.
Yeah, which is so sad. It's
That's
like,
wild.
give them time, please.
I mean, I would say that 64 chapters is like long enough.
A year,
you know?
yeah.
You should know within a year whether this is going to be a long-lasting thing or not.
Yeah.
Again, I may be completely ignorant, but
No,
I feel like after a
get
year,
that.
you could tell whether a story is going to a good place or it's not. That's
Yeah.
Like I think it would have been nice for there to be like, let's say, all right, because it definitely seems like the first half, while I have issues with the pacing of the story and a bunch of structural issues with it, I think that it's clear that the mangaka had an idea for the first half and how he wanted that first half to be executed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if again, not having read the second half of the story, if it would have been planned out better, you could have managed. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility to construct a totally cohesive story within 7 volumes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's unfortunate that Shonen Jump runs its manga or runs its publication the way it does, where things just get canceled out of nowhere, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of foresight that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, some people will say that that the reader surveys are like the big determining factors, which it's possible that maybe listening to their audience is impeding the creative process,
Mm-hmm.
which is a shame.
Yeah. So yeah, not to like do another like Kuroko comparison, but like just the characters are so easy to compare, and I don't know, it's because I love Kuroko so much, but I can totally be like,
it is.
You're the robot X Laserbeam's version of this character from Kuroko.
Sure.
But can we talk about how the Emperor is basically Hanamiya plus Hisoka from Hunter x
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Wait, who's Hanamiya?
He's the douchebag who like fights real dirty, plays real dirty in Kuroko.
I need to Google him. I know Hisoka
He
for
does
sure.
the,
I remember.
ooh, he has the really long tongue. I don't know why that's a descriptor.
No, he's just the biggest asshole.
He's the biggest asshole
in Kuroko.
In Kuroko.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I thought your Hanamiya was
No,
someone
no.
from Hunter.
No. Yeah, from Kuroko. So
Mhm.
he's
Okay,
and
I
like
remember
he even has the moment of he's showing his ass in the hot spring, and the guy's like, "What are you doing? Cover up!" And he does the whole, "Oh, my toy, like you're getting better, and it makes me excited," like that whole thing. I was like, "Oh my!" Like,
I was waiting for a Schwing reference.
I was too. I was like, "Where's the swinging?" And then the fact that he like has the helicopter, I thought was really funny. I thought it was like so ridiculous. At first I was like, this is so dumb. This is so ridiculous. And then the more they used it, I was like, this is hilarious. It makes me so happy.
I was kind of upset that like, you know, not every character was coming out of a helicopter. I feel like that should have been mandatory for this manga at this point.
Oh my god.
It's like every character, if they're coming into the scene, they need to jump out of a helicopter.
That would be amazing. Like
so-
what entrances?
The fact that they like had him had Robo and Tomoyo jumping out of a helicopter and like parachuting down into it, I was like, this is just
It was because if I remember,
perfect.
he was like late. Was that the whole
Yeah,
thing?
he was late because they helped
Yeah.
the old lady.
Oh my god! Arriving in parachuting out of a helicopter onto the first hole. Like honestly, though, if you take that moment and you kind of extrapolate it like into the rest of the match and like the sport, like if it was that hyperbolic and crazy and wild, I'd be totally into it.
Yeah.
Right. But like, that's like one moment where it's like, man, I kind of wish it was like this all the time, like wild and crazy. But then it goes back to just, I'm going to shoot laser beams, you know, like I'm a robot. And it's like, man, I feel like there was a moment where it's like, it could have been fucking awesome. It could have been great.
It could have just gone off the rails, which
exactly.
Kuroko does the humor and the going like higher and higher, like a lot of sports anime, like it's getting better and better and better, and it's just real good because it just keeps hyping you up. Whereas this, it was like, yeah, okay, we're back.
Yeah.
I did like talking about like, I mean, it's hard to really talk about all the characters because we didn't get much time with them. Like the senior that we got the most time with was Rion, Snake Boy. And I did really love him. Like, I expected him to be such a douche the entire time, and the fact that he kind of became the one who was the caring senpai made me really happy.
Yeah, he was pretty good. I liked him.
He had some of the best faces, 100% out of the whole thing.
Like the game that it was him and Robo against like the asshole guys that kicked the girl, right?
Yeah. His like string of curses, that panel was so funny.
Like there was a word bubble or a speech bubble that said, "I'm not even familiar with some of those words," and it's just like all pixelated out. It's awesome.
And like symbols and all of that. Yeah, he had some, and that's something Fujimaki like. I do like getting to see the art here and like how clean and well done it is, and like every action shot is really cool, like the perspective and everything. And just going back to like the first few volumes of Kuroko, his art was so like amateur, scratchy, like it wasn't very good, and he definitely learned and like worked really hard to learn how to do perspectives and all of this stuff. And it carries over into this, and it makes me excited and look forward to whatever it is he does next. Because I really want him to do another thing. Like, I'd really love him to keep creating stuff. And so his art is really stellar. Like, even though, like, Robo has, like, this expressionless eyes, there's still times where he has, like, emotions, and they stand out, and they do really good. And so I just like his art and his character designs and all of that stuff a lot.
Was Kuroko his first thing? And so this is his second. So, you know, it falls prey to this like sophomore curse, right? Where like it's almost always that like either, you know, a mangaka or like a director, and I know it happens a lot with movies, like their sophomore effort is usually not as good as their debut, but it shows promise of growing as a director or growing as an artist. And you're like, okay, they're kind of getting it. And so you wait, and, you know, usually their third effort is like usually their best, because it's like, okay, this guy's started to understand which characters work and which characters don't work. He's getting his art down. He's understanding, like you said, the perspective, the action, all this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I would totally be excited to see what his kind of third work would be, if there is one.
He has a one shot called Vanguard of Archer.
I loved that one shot. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that.
I've never heard of it.
I was so bummed that did not become a series. Now that you say that, I actually did. Have you read that, Lou?
Oh, no. I have access to my anime list. That's how I know these things.
I completely forgot. When that came out, I loved that
archery?
So much. Yeah. Oh my gosh, he needs to do an archery manga. He would do it so good. And it was like it's like a fantasy setting too. And he does it really good. I was like, I am so into this.
We should like bookmark this for like MangaPod look for this year.
Oh man, I'm
that's interesting because see if it's in a fantasy setting, I feel like that's such an interesting concept, because if it's an archer in a fantasy setting,
with monsters,
if the kind of competitive, if the competitive aspect doesn't work out, you know, if he cuts his teeth on, you know, archery contests and all this kind of stuff, and if that ever gets boring, then it becomes like, well, we're in a fantasy setting, so let me use it on monsters and people or something, right? Like that could be really, really cool. Like that's like one of the sports that like translates to kind of real life stuff. So that's a really interesting idea. I didn't know he had another piece of work.
I completely forgot about that. He needs to do something with that. Do you guys have any other thoughts about the art?
No.
You're so
It looks great. I would say maybe the characters look a little too similar. You know, but again, going back to Kuroko, there was a lot of differences in the character designs. Like everyone really stood out. This manga not so much.
It's because they didn't all have different colored hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the ones that really stood out to me were Robo and the Emperor and Discount Aomine. Like those are the two.
Oh my gosh, the scene where Tomoyo, like the extra where Tomoyo is like, I can only draw 2 kinds of faces, made me laugh really hard.
Yeah, the art's good. I mean, I don't think it falls into. I didn't read Kuroko. I only watched Kuroko, and now I'm being inspired. Maybe I need to do a read through of Kuroko, or just a rewatch of Kuroko.
Good.
I need to just do it.
You should read it.
So I didn't notice a lot of the same characters as I do so much in like in things like whoever I don't know the name of the top of my head, but like the creators of like Full Metal Alchemist and like Silver Spoon, or even like Akira Toriyama, right? Where like everyone looks like Goku or everyone looks like Chrono or whatever. So I thought the art was good, and like you said, the action shots are pretty cool. Like when someone does the snake bite or the serpent bite, it's kind of cool, but there's just not a lot to work with in golf, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah. I will say, now that I have a screaming child.
What is the child's opinion of the manga?
I don't think he's happy.
Not a fan of Robotics Laser.
It's okay. He knows that Kuroko's better. It's okay.
Oh God.
At least he has good taste.
Yeah, you got good taste, huh? There you go. There you are.
Cutie, nice onesie on.
It says Captain Cutie.
Oh,
Hold
nice.
on. Oh, I don't know if you could see it. He's just making silly faces. I was gonna say I think it will, because I have never had a single interest in golf, and that anytime I'd watch it, I'd be like, okay, and then I would turn the channel. I just never. Oh, he just pooped so hard. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but he went so hard.
And that's the end of MangaPod.
Bye. I just wanted to, in case you guys picked it up, it was real loud.
We're gonna end as abruptly as Robot X Laserbeam.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, basically.
It made me respect golf a lot and actually like understand it, because I never thought about the like physical aspect of like, oh, they need to do upper body strength because they need to be able to hold the stance and walk all those holes and carry their shit. Like, I never even thought about that. And like all of the technical aspects that go into it. So it did make me respect the sport a lot. It didn't make me interested like in playing it like every other, like most sports manga make me feel.
So you're telling me that you didn't buy a whole set of golf clubs after reading this manga?
I didn't.
Unfortunate.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, like, to add on to like the technical aspects of golf, when you are playing golf, you have different clubs, and woods and irons and all this kind of stuff that basically dictate how far the ball will go and how it will carry and all this kind of stuff that changes when you don't have that perfect plane or whatever they call it, right? Where like he can hit the ball perfectly every time. So I feel like that takes that entire technical aspect out of it, because now it's like no matter what club he's using, it's gonna be a perfect hit, right?
And it's gonna be a laser beam.
It's gonna be a laser beam, yeah. And so it's like I don't know. There's just it took away from the kind of minutia that is golf, like the micro details of golf, of like, I need to know the wind speed and the slopes on the greens, and I need to know which exact iron to use, because when you have a perfect hit, you have a perfect hit. Like it doesn't matter what club you're using.
Yeah, and like they would kind of put in like, oh, he didn't think about the wind and stuff, so they'd like bring that up randomly. but it was like never a huge focus or like a hindrance because Robo like was perfect. Like he did good every single time. So
Yeah.
I did like that in the second half of the game again, or the practice match against the other school, that he was making it a point to go second so he could observe what the Emperor was doing.
yeah.
So he could more or less use that to account for the wind and other variables that he realized that were beyond his control and his ability to assess.
Yeah.
Sorry. He doesn't. He's very upset right now. He's not happy. Should we go around and give our final thoughts and ratings?
For sure.
Hey, Lou, do you want to start?
Yeah. So I didn't hate the manga, but there are other manga I would recommend first. I think it's not worth going out of your way to read unless like you're specifically looking for more of Kuroko's art style. Like I think that is the main selling point for this manga, and outside of that, I would say I kind of want to say pass on this, but I don't want to give it a bad score either, because I feel like the one dramatic note that it hit in terms of like Robo realizing that he cares about the sport of golf and really becoming passionate about pursuing his goal of catching up to Yo, I feel like it did that well. So I feel like about a 5.5 out of 10 is a fair score for it.
I don't have a good litmus thing on the rating system because I haven't rated many. And the last time I was on here was Promised Neverland, which I think got glowing reviews from all of us.
Yes.
So I would say if the score system is like read or pass, honestly, I pass on it unless, like Lou said, you've kind of already gone through all the other like stellar sports manga and anime, like the Prince of Tennis and the Kuroko no Basket that we talked about so much. And I know people in chat have mentioned Ice Shield 21, which is super awesome as well. So like I pass on it if you have other things to read. But as just like, oh, like, let me see what else is out there. And I just want to read a manga and I've read all the stuff that I'm super duper interested in. Yeah, sure. Give it a read in that respect. But don't jump it to the front of your list like we did kind of like with Promised Neverland. Just, read it if you want, but don't go out of your way to read it like Lou said.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's coming from somebody who's like a huge fan of Kuroko and this mangaka's work. It's just, it's not the best sports manga. Like we've said, it kind of is what it is. And so I do want to read until the end to see how it plays out and like what all happens and see if it's a stronger second half than it was in the first. But I think in my heart, I'm going to give it a 6 just because I do love the art. I do love the mangaka and like some of the characters I did really enjoy. And there was some really good... Ooh. There was some really good humor moments as well. Like the humor was definitely brought over from Kuroko, which I thought was great. I've always really enjoyed Kuroko's humor. But yeah, it just didn't quite do what a sports manga needs to do to tell a story. And the structure, like Lou was saying, was kind of all over the place. And so I think I'm going to give it a 6. But yeah, so if it's something that you guys... If it's something you guys don't have anything else to read, or you're, just go ahead and check it out. But otherwise, yeah, we all kind of give it a medium score of like a 5.5, I think. So.
Like if we're rating it on a golf scale, this is like a bogey.
A bogey.
So not quite on par. Not quite a double bogey, but just it's all right.
Accurate.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not a laser beam, guys.
It is definitely not a laser beam.
Definitely not a laser
beam. All right, so that wraps up our discussion on Robot X Laser Beam. Lou, do you mind reading the description for the manga that we are reading next week?
I was actually just pulling it up right now.
Awesome. That's why you're the best.
Yeah. All right. Blank has been bullied his entire life, constantly running errands and being beaten up by his classmates. Blank has always dreamed of changing himself, but never had the passion to act upon it. One day, in the midst of yet another bullying, Blank is saved by Blank, who happens to be a blank. Blank faints from his injuries and is brought to Blank's blank gym to recover. As he regains consciousness, he is awed and amazed at his new surroundings in the gym, though lacks confidence to attempt anything. Blank places a photo of Blank's classmate on a blank and forces him to blank it. It is only then that Blank feels something stir inside him and eventually ask Blank to train him in blank. I'm going to stop the synopsis there.
MangaPod or Dojin Pod? That sounded dirty at the end.
Yeah, it gets pretty lewd. I mean, we do cover, the more erotic mangoes, but this is not one of those. Though there is a certain elephant that appears. That is a spoiler for the chat.
Elephants.
Yes.
It is. Keep in mind, we are still in March, which is our March Madness manga month. So we're doing all sports manga all the time. So keep that. That's another hint. Erotic mangoes. I know.
I mean, there is a lot of fisting in this manga. There's another hint, chat.
Ethan got it. Hajime no Ippo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Blue's like, oh yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've watched that.
Yeah, I'm compliant with terms of service. I know what I'm doing.
Who knows?
Community guidelines. I know these things.
Awesome. How many chapters are we reading, Lou?
We are reading. I'm not that prepared.
Sorry.
Chapters. Chapter 64 through 96, volumes 8 to 11.
Okay. Cool. So that is what we are going to be reading next week. Let's go around and shout out our stuff super duper fast. I'm Erin of Happily Erin. I have a crying baby right now, which has kind of been my life lately. But if you want to, I know. Lou, do you want to do my shout out for me?
All right, I'll do your sign off. So she's Happily Erin. She has a lovely crying baby. She's been working on a novel. And you can find it linked on her Twitter, which her Twitter is. Of that oh yeah, me too. Hardcore and hardcover. So yeah, you can find her all across the everything at Happily Erin. So if you type HAPPLEEE, so this is 3 E's, RIN, you will find her all over the internet. And that's her stuff. And my name is Lou, and I have a YouTube channel called Lou Talks Anime, where I don't really make videos because I've decided to focus on a podcast that I've started with friend of the show, Dakota Broski. It's an anime podcast called The Anime Hour, and it's pretty great. We've had Holden from Holden Reviews as a guest. We've had Gene as a guest. We've had D from Rebel House, Baron J as a guest. And actually, the newest episode, which should be going up tomorrow, because I finally overcame a bunch of technical difficulties, is going to feature Erin, and we're going to be talking about sports anime. So it's very, very exciting, very good episode, and I'm excited for that to drop. So you can check that out at youtube.com/The Anime Hour Podcast. And that's my stuff. Oh, and Twitter, Lou Talks Anime. So yeah, Brad?
Yeah, obviously, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. Like I said, I came on for Promised Neverland, and it was incredible, and I'm still reading that to this day. And now the anime is airing. My friend is bugging me every week because he's watching it weekly, and he's like, this is the best shit I've ever seen. And so I was happy to be a part of that MangaPod. Thank you for having me on for this one. And yeah, so if you want to find me on Twitter, twitter.com/TwitchPluto. I changed my handle since the Promised Neverland. But I also work at Twitch in the partnerships department. I also stream every now and then just at twitch.tv/Pluto. So you can check that out because I was just telling these guys that GTA RP is blowing up on Twitch. And I started a huge weeaboo character on that server. And so I basically just talk about manga and anime references. And it's incredible. So check me out sometime.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Always.
Of course. Anytime Brooke messages me, is like, you want to do MangaPod? I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I do. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you're watching on Twitch, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. We will be here same time, same place next week talking Ajime no Ippo, and we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, he getting mad again. He getting mad.